How is everyone doing? Good? Yes? Awesome. Yeah, I'm Sherif. I've been a product manager at Atlassian for almost 8 years now. Spent most of my time in Confluence, and now I'm doing a lot of cross-product stuff across all our products. But today I'm not talking about either of those. Today I want to share with you guys something that's been on my mind for a while. I speak to a lot of customers as part of my job as a product manager, and I hear that you're doing a lot of cool stuff with our products. And a lot of them are just what you might call culture hacks. There are ways you're using our products to scale your culture within your organizations and within your teams. So what I hope to do to share with you today is share 10 different cultural hacks you can use in most of our tools, not all of them, to scale and foster the cultures that you may already have in your organizations. Some of these are homegrown and Atlassian. Some of these we have stolen from many of you guys. And if you've got a whole lot more, I would actually love to, maybe we can keep the communication going, or maybe on the community channel or something. Love to hear more about this, and we can sort of build a record of all this cool cultural hacks you can have in our tools. So what will I cover today? I'll spend a little bit of time just setting the scene about culture and just level setting what I talk about, what I mean when I talk about culture. And then I'll go through four sections of maybe sort of like a team life cycle. So everything from how your team forms to how work gets done within a team to how we say thank you to our team members in our team and how we have some fun together. And in each of those sections, I'll give you a couple of little cultural hacks or things you can do in our tools to help scale some of the practices you might do or you might want to consider. So culture, what is it? A lot is written about culture. The definition that I love the most and works really well for this presentation too is culture is really all about how work gets done. It's just how you as a team or you as a company gets your work complete. Now culture is often mentioned alongside values. And sometimes people mix the two together and sometimes they're kept quite different. But values, on contrast, is really about what you hold true. What are your principles? Like, what do you as a team or a company believe? Those icons there at the bottom are some of the values we have at Atlassian, like open company, play as a team, be the change you seek. And these values, you hope, are things that never change. They're things that are long-lasting. Now, culture, on the other hand, you would expect that to change. As organizations grow, team members mature, or things change, dynamics change, how you do work will change, but your values probably will not want to change. And the values are super important because they lay the foundation for the culture that you will have set up. Michael Watkins writes a lot about teams and management and spends a little bit talking about culture as well. And he describes them as a set of patterns for communicating, thinking, and acting. But the key thing here is they're all grounded on these shared values. And the values hopefully will never change, and your culture should adapt as the organization moves along. So one big disclaimer before I get into the tips. This has nothing to do with the tools. Like, I'm standing here, I'm an Atlassian employee, and I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with the tools. It is all about the people. I cannot stress this enough. I speak to a lot of customers, and you probably hear this as well yourself, where they would say, I used JIRA software, I used JIRA Agile, we're practicing Agile, and you talk about how they work, and there is no agility at all in their work. But that's because agility is really all about a mindset. It has nothing to do with the tool. The tool just helps foster whatever culture and whatever mindset that you already have. So I'm about to show you a whole bunch of stuff. Some, will raise a whole bunch of different cultural aspects. But I'm here just to share with you, just to highlight the fact that it really all starts with the people that you hire and the decisions that they make around your culture. All right, let's start. Some tips for how people get started within your team or your organization. So you know how someone joins your team and you kind of have this like awkward meet or greet, like this hello moment where you stand them up and you're like, oh, I'll walk you around the rest of the team, and you shake hands and you're like, oh, this is Bob, or this is Jane. Oh, hey, what are you doing here? I'm going to do blah, 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 cool. Then you move on to the next person, then you move on to the next person, and you repeat yourself like 12 times. Really how you say hello to a team member. That's kind of how you have the meet and greet. So how can you scale this meet and greet sort of culture within an organization and make it a little bit more fun? Now, by the way, before I jump into the tip here, Throughout my talk, I'll have this little panel on the side, and I'll show you the products that I'm going to refer to today. So in this specific tip, I'm going to talk about Confluence and Trello. I'll highlight if there's any customization needed for this tip. For most of the tips I'll give you, there's no customization required, but I did want to highlight where there was. And the deployment options is what I'm showing you available in cloud and server. And again, I tried to pick most that are available in both deployments, but you can just follow on in that key there. So back to saying hello and the meet and greet, how do we do that at scale? Now at Atlassian, we encourage all employees to write a welcome blog post when they join a team. And the welcome blog post is really about to get to know this person a little bit better. Tell us about yourself, what it is that you do. Now, if you're walking around shaking people's hands and saying, hi, my name's Sherif, I'm joining this team as this, you really don't have time to get to know that person about their interests, their hobbies. What are they passionate about? How can we get to know you a little bit better as a person? And welcome blog posts help do this. Now, the key thing with welcome blog posts, they're not a CV. We've already hired you. You don't need to show off or reprove yourself to someone else. They're really about your personality, who you are, what you like doing. Let's form some interest together and build a cohesive team. Some of the amazing thing about these blog posts is people comment and reply and collaborate. And sometimes a lot of them aren't even in your team. They're in another department or maybe even in another country. And you might never meet some of these people, but it goes a long way to help. I know many of you here work in large organizations. It goes a long way to help a large organization feel like a small team or a small family. And some of them make them engaging. This is Jennifer. She started recently. I've tried to get the last few blog posts within our internal Confluence instance. And she talked about what's the fastest way to bake a cake. That was her welcome blog post. She loves cakes and she loves baking them, and she wanted to know the fastest way to bake cakes. So people are commenting with pictures and recipes, and this is her welcome blog post. What a great way to introduce someone to a team, and you want her on your team because she makes amazing cakes. Another thing you might do to welcome new team members is, especially in remote teams, is the Trello team inside Atlassian. They have this board called the Remote Battle Stations board. I love it. And the idea of the board here is to have a lot of remote workers, and so you can get to know what someone's remote office environment is. What does their home office like? And you can pull up the person that you're speaking to and see their desk area, and you can comment. You can ask them, oh, how did you do that? And it's a lovely way to meet and greet someone in a remote office or in a home office and learn more about them. And this also came across my internal feeds the other day, speaking of remote workers. Someone from the JIRA services team has a remote worker in their team, but they sometimes forget about them. Not in a bad way or anything, but it's always hard when someone's not in the office next to you. So they found this service. It's kind of freaky, and you can print this life-size cutout of someone. You should do this as an office prank, it'll be hilarious. But you can print a life-size cutout of someone and stick it there. So they have an empty desk around where they sit, where this life-size cutout sits, and they pick him up and they put him around in their stand-ups, just to remind them that this person is in their team as well. A lovely way to make remote team members feel like they're part of your team. He's lost a bit of weight in this cardboard cutout, by the way. My second tip is about how you help your team members get started. So they've joined your team, they've said hello. How do we make sure they hit the ground running and are productive as quickly as possible? This is another Confluence tip available in both cloud and server. Michael Watkins, again, he has a lot to say about people joining new teams and organizations. This is a bit of a weird description here. He describes it as like this organ transplant. And he says, if you're not thoughtful enough, you could end up being attacked by the organizational immune system and rejected. That is just weird. Forget about that. But he writes a lot about 90-day plans. And does anyone here practice 90-day plans or has heard about 90-day plans? No? Oh, okay, cool. 90-day plans is a great way to help people onboard quickly and set them up for success in your team. It's pretty simple. In 90 days, what are the activities you want them to do? How would you measure their success? And how can you help them track their progress to get there? So at Atlassian, we have a Confluence page that a manager creates for their new employee when they start, which is their 90-day plan. So they say, welcome to the team, Matthew. This example, I'm there as his manager, and Shihab is his buddy. That's the other picture there. And we have a buddy system. And a buddy system is basically someone you can meet and have a coffee with or something. He's outside our team, and you can use them to ask any question you like how does stuff get done around here and that kind of stuff. And in the 90-day plan, we explain what it is and what it's for, the things that you need to do in your 90-day plan. Here's all the stuff we want to help you track and progress throughout the time you're here in our 90 days. A section about what we expect from you. What are the things we hope you want to learn? What are the things we hope you'll deliver? And so they can tick these things and progress in the 90 days to help set them up for success. Now, we also have this section called Charlie's Challenge. It's a bit of a game, but the idea here is to make your 90-day plans fun. Charlie is this man here, by the way. We call him Charlie. He's holding the world. He's the Atlassian logo. And so we have things here like learn about Atlassian's culture, like, find about these in-jokes, or go read these blogs, or go learn about this. A nice, engaging way to introduce someone to your team or your company's culture. And you'll have sections about the stuff they need to get access to or a reading list. And the idea here is you're helping people get started as quickly as possible, and you're injecting references to any of the cultural practices that you might have in your specific team, or maybe broader in your organization. If you are thinking about 90-day plans, you can look up that Michael Watkins guy that Weed quote was from. He does write some pretty awesome stuff about that. But 3 tips, if you want to write them. Help them track their progress. Make those new team members feeling like they're progressing in 90 days. It's often hard when you join a medium to large company that you're overwhelmed very quickly. Provide guidance. Maybe spend a lot of time focusing on the why, and then who to meet and greet and what you need to do. And find some ways to inject your team's personality into the 90-day plan, whether it be the Charlie's Challenge equivalent, maybe you have some in-jokes or some cultural practices, or you bring cake for someone's birthday. Find a way to express that in your 90-day plan. So 3 hacks of our products that you can use to scale some of the culture within your team. We talked about welcome blog posts in Confluence, remote battle stations in Trello to introduce your team to your remote workers, or 90-day plans, a great way to help people get started and sort of try and set them up for success. So that's about how to get started. What about some tips for how work gets done within your team or your company? I want to talk about 3 things here. Every team has meetings and needs to make decisions. So what are the things you could do to help scale some of the practices there? How you can crowdsource feedback from within your organization, and how you report on the work that needs to get done around your office, things that need to get completed or fixed. How do we do that? So I'll give you 3 tips there. So number 3, meetings and decisions. Another Confluence example here. No customizations required. The examples I'm going to give you are available in what we call the Confluence templates dialog. If you press next to your create button, there's a little ... where you can press to get more things. There's some meetings blueprints there and decisions blueprints, so you can check them out if you want to play with them. But one of Confluence's most common use cases, all our customers keep telling us they use Confluence for meeting notes, and they love them for meeting notes. And meeting notes in Confluence are a great way to help your team stay on track. Make sure you have an outcome, a productive meeting, and you're following an agenda. And you can follow up on what work needs to be done and make sure you close the loop. You have an agenda section and a section for your tasks. Now, the thing here is it's just a template to help you get started. But you, as a team or as a company, can modify this template and reflect whatever cultural practices you have in your meetings in that template. If you think it's too formal to talk about agenda items and you have some creative way of doing it, then find a way to reflect that in the tool. But Confluence is great for these ad hoc meetings and making sure work gets done in these meetings. The other one that I've been really excited about recently is that one of the teams I work in, we've modified this template because we have a lot of recurring meetings. So we work in a lot of projects where we have weekly progress meetings or status updates, so maybe you work in an operational team. And so we've created our own template. Up the top section there are all the actions that need to happen. This is like using the task list macro in Confluence. We just put that at the top. And on the right there is who is in the meeting, who are the attendees, and every row in the table is a week. So this is a weekly meeting in this case, and we have the agenda, what we're going to talk about, what needs to get done, a column for actions, you assign some action items that week, and a column for decisions. You may have a discussion in the meeting and decide something, and so You just want to capture, yep, we decided this is going to happen, or option A, we're going to do this, etc. So you just want to capture that somewhere. And each week you build up a bit of a log here, and it's really helpful if you're in a long-running project or something. You can reflect back and like, why did we choose this again? And you can just quickly search the page and get all the history there. Now these decisions there on the side, you might call them leaf decisions, right? There's a decisions framework called the tree decisions framework. Anyone heard about this? No? No one? Okay, cool, I'll explain it. So there's little decisions, you may call them leaf decisions. What's an example of a leaf decision? Leaf decisions are sort of easy to reverse. If you get them wrong, it's not the end of the world. Like, there's no big consequences about it. They're little things that, you just need to decide and move on. The implications of them are not expensive. Now, in contrast, you might have trunk decisions. They're like, hey, we need to think deeply about this decision that we want to make, because if we go down option A or option B, the consequences are huge. It may cost us a lot of money. It may take a lot of time. You may call that a trunk decision. This is a heavy decision that we want to spend some deep time thinking about it, exploring our options, doing a pro-con analysis. And so that weekly meeting template that I showed you earlier may be great for those leaf decisions. By the way, somewhere in the middle you may have branch decisions. The analogy sort of falls down here because it becomes a bit vague, but you get the idea. Big, hard decisions that have big consequences, and small decisions that you could jot down in a meeting notes page. So for the trunk decisions, Confluence has a blueprint called the Decisions Blueprint, and we followed a framework called the DACI, D-A-C-I framework. It stands for who's the driver, who's driving this decision, who needs to approve it, who's going to contribute, and who needs to be informed, D-A-C-I. Now, don't get fixed on the framework. Again, the idea here is it's a template for you to modify for your team and your whatever cultural practices you have in decision-making in your company. Maybe you don't need to have multiple stakeholders to approve it, so you could remove that section. Again, you want to modify the tool to reflect the practices that you already have. But this is a great way to work through some trunk decisions, some heavy decisions that may have some implications. You'll have a section where you explore the pros and the cons and the implications, and you have a good discussion about it and maybe make a recommendation. These are ones that you want to spend time thinking about, maybe reference stakeholders or ask stakeholders to come in and approve, or make sure people are aware of these trunk level decisions. So Confluence is great for meetings and decisions. What about capturing feedback and getting feedback at scale? So I have a bit of confession to make. For this presentation, Shannon, our track lead, she can cover her ears, I cheated. I asked the company to do it for me. So Confluence Questions is a Confluence add-on where you can ask your team or your company, hey, any question you like. And so I just did that. I said, hey, I'm thinking about giving a talk about scaling culture in your company. Can someone give me some ideas? It worked really well. So I asked the question. I had people I have never met before, people across the company, commenting and giving me ideas or telling me customers they spoke to that use it this way, or Trello team members jumping in and telling me that they do this. And some people I've never met, some people I have, and we had a great conversation. I had lots of ideas for this presentation. It really made my job a whole lot easier and gave me some pretty cool ideas. But you can crowdsource your work and get feedback using Confluence Questions. Maybe another example at a slightly bigger scale is Scott, our co-founder and CEO, a couple of years ago, asked everyone in the company, hey, we're doing some vision planning for the company. What do we want to look like in a few years' time? What's our painted picture? And he asked this question to see, what's the pulse? What's everyone thinking? What do we want to aspire to be? A great way to crowdsource and get a feeling from your company of what's going on. And the response we had was incredibly overwhelming. We had nearly 200 responses and hundreds of votes. People were commenting and coming up with ideas, and we want to be known for this, not that, or really we should probably focus our efforts on this, or I'm really excited about this part of our company, or etc. But it's a great way to crowdsource some feedback from the rest of your company and have a feel of like, what is the culture? What's everyone thinking about? How do they want to improve the way we work and improve who we are as a team? So Confluence Questions is great for helping you scale that. Now, my last tip in this section is about reporting work, tip number 5. Now, I'm not talking about like JIRA reporting style stuff. I'm talking about, hey, I see the carpet here is ripped up and we need to fix up the carpet. Who do I tell to do that? Like, how do we get that fixed? One of our Atlassian's values is be the change you seek. And how do we encourage everyone in our physical offices to be the change they seek? And so the tip here is using JIRA for reporting work that happens around the office. Example, in the toilet. You'll often see sticky notes across many physical things around Atlassian offices. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but the sticky note says WEXP 1599. That's the JIRA ticket number, and it says keeps flushing. And so you'll see something's wrong, your toilet's not working. I'll report that in JIRA. So someone's gone and raised the JIRA ticket and stuck a sticky note on the toilet to let you know someone's reported this. And the experience team, the team that looks after our facilities, will come back and fix it. But it's a great way to encourage people to feel like they're part of the office. You know, they can be the change they seek and improve the office any way they like. And you see these everywhere at Atlassian. Another toilet example. There's a bit of a trend here. But you know, the door isn't closing properly, and this particular person has decided to suggest, you know, put a doorstep as a temporary solution. Very kind of them. But a couple of weeks ago, I was getting the elevator, and I pressed the button, and the light didn't come on, and someone raised the ticket and put it on the thing. And it's just a great way to just help people feel like they can be the change they seek. They're part of the office. They can report things, and this gets raised with our facilities team, or we call them our experience team at Atlassian. Now, that team also happens to use JIRA Service Desk, and you don't have to use JIRA Service Desk for this. You could just use JIRA by itself. But that team uses JIRA Service Desk to capture all the work that needs to get done. So I imagine someone's come here and they've typed, hey, something's wrong with our toilets. They've got a whole bunch of suggestions. Funnily enough, there's not a lot of content in Confluence written about toilets. But then they find specific service requests. So they can see here the experience team. They can raise a ticket with them and say, something's wrong in the office. Someone needs to go ahead and fix this. Now, the experience team can model JIRA Service Desk, this form, in any way they like. So depending on how they work, they may have an approval process. It's reflective of their work cultural practices. And they can fill it out and submit it. And off it goes. So JIRA Service Desk is great with that. So how work gets done around the office. Meetings and decisions in Confluence. Think of those leaf decisions. You may want to capture them, the little ones, as well as the big ones that require a bit more thought, the trunk ones. Decisions and Confluence, feedback using Confluence questions. And if you want to report work, you could use JIRA or JIRA Service Desk, a great way to do that. Get your toilets fixed. My next tip is about how to say thank you. I don't know about you, but I'm terrible at remembering to pause and say thank you to people. And so team members want to feel like they're appreciated. How can you set up a culture so that it's easier to show your appreciation for other people in your team? So I'll give you a couple of tips there. The examples here I'll use is JIRA Service Desk and HipChat. And again, no customizations required. Number 6. So saying thank you. So at Atlassian, we have this thing called a kudos service desk. Kudos is just a way to say thank you towards someone. So you can go here and you can say, I want to say thanks. And we have different types of kudoses. We have a video kudos, where you could record a short video of yourself saying thank you to a person. You can raise a ticket for someone and say, you know, please get them a coffee voucher or a nice bottle of wine to say thank you, and a card. You can give a team kudos. You can say thank you to a whole team and say, this whole team helped me out with this project. They went out of their way and did this. And you can raise a team kudos as well. So you may want to consider using something like JIRA Service Desk to reflect maybe a way to say thank you in your organization. And again, the team that looks after the kudos system, they decide on a workflow and the forms, the fields they want to capture to get these kudoses approved. You know, if you want to get someone a gift and it's under $30, it doesn't need to go through an approval process. That's great, they can just get done. Or maybe you want to get someone a bigger present and that needs to go through an approval process. You model the tool in whatever cultural practices you have. So kudos is nice for big thank yous. What about just saying thank you on a regular basis in a low friction way? Now, HipChat has a bot framework, and if you can go to this botlab.hipchat, bit of a weird URL, you can take a photo of that or just grab the slides later. There's a whole bunch of different bots. One of the bots that we use to say thank you and appreciation to people is a bot called the Karma bot. Does anyone here use the Karma bot? Oh, a few. Nice. Yeah, it's a great way to say thank you to people. So the Karma bot is available on our marketplace. It's free. If you got HipChat, you can download it and install it. But let me show you what it does. This is one of my team's rooms in Sydney, and someone here has done something. They've changed something in some system, etc. Paul has changed something, and Arthur's gone, thanks a lot, Paul Curran, +++++, and Julianne, +++++. Just saying thanks, like, just giving you some pluses. And at the bottom there, you see a bit of karma, like, hey, Paul's karma's 48. Paul and Julian, wow, he must be doing something incredible, or he's gamed the system. He's got 546 karma. But a nice, simple way to say thank you. And if you receive a karma, it actually kind of feels nice. You're like, thanks, I appreciate you doing that. If you want to make it a bit of a competition and have some fun, the bot also has a way to get the top users that have karma, and you can kind of like see a rank and that kind of stuff. So a nice, simple way to say thank you, but a low, frictionless way to do that and do that on a regular basis. So you may want to consider using Jira Service Desk for something like a kudos equivalent in your company, a way to say thank you. Or you use HipChat and you want to just say thank you as you go, install the Karma bot. It'll take you a couple of seconds and it'll probably go a long way for people to feel like they're being appreciated. So my last tip is about how teams can have some fun together, and I'll cover a few things here. Maybe some cultural tips around hackathons, the different social groups you may have within your organization, lookalikes. Everyone has celebrity lookalikes in your companies, and emojis, and then how teams can enjoy having a drink and a conversation together. So hackathons. Tip number 7, this is using JIRA. And at Atlassian, we have a hackathon, and we call it Ship It. This afternoon, we're having a Ship It Live event. I don't know, are you guys coming to that? Should be pretty awesome. So Ship It Live is like, you'll see an example of this hackathon in action. People, for 24 hours, they do anything they like, foster some innovation, let them go wild, and they build whatever they want, do whatever they like. But it's a bit of a competition, and the competition is like, you create something, you present, and all we ask for you is at the end of the 24 hours, you present it to your colleagues. And you just share what worked, what failed, how much fun you had, etc. And then people vote on your projects, and you may have different voting rounds depending on how big your company is, and you can have a semi-final and a finals round and all that kind of jazz. Now, so if you have a hackathon equivalent in your company, maybe some innovation program, there is the hackathon add-on for JIRA. It's available for both server and cloud. But you can install it, and this gives you a few things. It gives you a way for all your participants to enter in their projects and join different teams to say, yep, I'll help with this hackathon project, or whatever it is. It gives you a little voting mobile experience. So there's a website you go to where you can vote for the projects. So you can have different rounds. You can say round 1 is these 10 teams, and they'll play off the winners from the other round, etc. And you can go to the semifinals and finals. And you can configure that depending on how large your company is or how small your team is. And then you get a little voting wallboard at the end where you can see, hey, the winner of the hackathon is this person, etc. So it's a plugin, add-on available for JIRA, Cloud, and Server. So you may want to give that a go if you have an equivalent hackathon. The next tip number 8, is around just the social groups that are in your company. Whether it be maybe some sporting events, some team events, maybe a book club. I heard the other day at Atlassian we have a Elon Musk appreciation club. I'm like, that sounds a bit creepy, but apparently there's like all these HipChat rooms where people like talk about Elon Musk and how awesome he is. So I didn't find a Sherif Mansour appreciation club. I was very upset. But anyway, but we have different social groups for office locations. So we have offices all around the world, in Sydney, in Mountain View, California, in San Francisco, in Austin. And for each of these offices, there is a social room. So if you're visiting the office, you can drop by and go, hey, what are people doing tonight? And a lovely way to meet some new people, have a conversation with some people you haven't met before, or to just hang out. So there's HipChat rooms for each office by location, or there's an equivalent Confluence page. Now, our experience team, the team that organizes a lot of our office stuff, have what they call a services directory. And the services directory just highlights all the different things you can do in that office, like how do I get a visitor's pass, and what if I get locked, and how do I order some cake for someone's birthday, and each one of the offices has a services directory page where you can go and learn more about the office, where the showers are, what are the different fun things about the office. So not just a HipChat room for each office, but a Confluence page for each office as well. Or maybe you've got a different bunch of lunchtime sports, different hobby groups, etc. You can have Confluence pages for each of those where you maybe embed a map using the Google Maps macro, or people can RSVP using the events macro, which comes with team calendars for Confluence. And so you can set up these pages and HipChat rooms for all of these social groups. And so we have them for all of our offices, from like running groups to book clubs. People can RSVP, meet a bunch of people that are interested in a similar thing, and have some fun together. Tip number 9 is a bit of a random tip. I was trying to fit it to 10, but I ended up with 11. So I grouped emojis and lookalikes together. They're not really related, but they're fun. Now, lookalikes. Everyone in every office has some celebrity lookalike. I'm absolutely convinced of this. And Atlassian, one of our oldest pages in our Confluence instance is our celebrity lookalikes page. And you can go through this page, and it's epically long. It's insanely long. And actually, my wife came and visited our office the other day, and the door opened, and we have a Tom Cruise lookalike. And we were standing in the elevator, and the door opened, and the gentleman who looks like Tom Cruise walked in, and she looked at me, and she was like, "It's Tom Cruise." I was like, "Just keep it down, keep it down." Anyway, so he left. Jim's in our office. Yeah, Jim's photo's on this page, and he does look like Tom Cruise if you ever come to this in the office. Poor Niraj looks like this Bollywood actor. I don't know who he is, but people contribute to this page. It's insane. Like, you get a new starter on your team who's a lookalike, and people will just post a picture of them and say, "Hey, this is blah, blah, blah," and they look like this. And it's sort of evolved over the years. The page itself is probably 13 years old, almost as old as Atlassian, and people just keep adding to it. It's crazy. These are my favorite lookalikes, by the way. We have multiple Hugh Jackman lookalikes. And we have a Mark Ruffalo lookalike, and Matthew Lawrence, the gentleman at the bottom, your bottom right there, he's here. He does look like Nicolas Cage, so you'll see him walking around the conference today. So make sure you ask for his autograph. He'll have no idea what you're talking about. I should tell him I put his picture on this slide, actually. So next up is emoji. As you guys know, at Atlassian, we have a lot of research teams that research a lot about teams. And one of the big conclusions they realized, and a recent study here about work, was that the company culture is deeply rooted in how people communicate. And emojis is a fun, expressive way to communicate. Some people are a bit skeptical towards emojis. They're like, "I don't know, it seems a bit whatever." But it's a nice way for people to express themselves and have some fun. Let me give you some examples of how you might use emoji. Now, this is for HipChat, and as you know, HipChat has a whole bunch of emoji that comes out of the box. But you can also upload custom emoji and have employees suggest emoji for your company or for your team. Let me give you some categories of what you might want to do. For example, we have emojis for just people in our teams. There's just people around the company. They'll just create emoji for themselves. Some are funny, like the little bouncy dude there. This guy, his name's Isaac. If you see him around the offices, he does do this all the time. And there's an emoji for Isaac. Some people have no idea who Isaac is, but use his emoji everywhere. It's just become a little cultural thing. We have emoji for our values, and so you may want to just have your company values as emoji, a nice visual representation of the company values. We have emoji for just random funny stuff. MC Hammer doing his dance with hammer pants there. A little story about the little golden star. Seems a bit random for you, but our founders used to do this thing where they would walk around. They would browse our Confluence instance, and if they found work they liked, they would drop a founder gold star. So they'd write a comment on a Confluence page and say, "This is amazing, well done. Here, have a founder gold star." Sounds a bit funny. And so I like making fun of things, so I had to make fun of this. So I decided one day I would create the golden camel. And so I started walking around all these pages on our internet and just dropping golden camels everywhere. And that's kind of become a thing now, golden camels and golden stars. So you may go ahead and create whatever equivalent you want to do. You may create a custom emoji for your projects or your products or your services to represent some of the things that you have in your team. You know, we have them for all our products. Maybe you have funny project names. Everyone has funny project names. Create an emoji for them, make it a little bit more exciting. Or everyone wants to eat lunch and eats food. There's lots of things around your office that you can eat. Get some custom emoji for them and inject some character into your team. So a bunch of different ways to do custom emoji. My last tip is about drinks. Getting drinks, whether it be a coffee, a tea, a beer, a wine, whatever it is that you guys do. You know, people bond over conversations, over food and drink. And so what are different things you can use Atlassian tools to do this? I'll cover a few examples with JIRA and with HipChat. In all Atlassian offices, we have a bar or a kitchen equivalent. This is the one in our Sydney office. And they have different beers on tap. We're a bit spoilt. It's quite nice. And there's 3 beers on tap in our Sydney office. And a few years ago, and this bot does not exist anymore, someone created a bot for HipChat to work out what beers are available on tap. You can tell it's a few years ago because this is the old HipChat design. But you could go ahead and create a bot for HipChat to do something similar. Let me show you what it does. You can kind of just say, in the B-bot, you can say B-bot on tap, and you hit enter, and it says, hey, in tap 1 is this beer, and tap 2 is this beer, and tap 3 is this beer. And then you can say B-bot info, and then you tell it the tap, like, tell me more about this beer. And it goes and fetches some blurb about the beer and like make it sound really fancy. And you can even say cheese, and you get a random meme for a beer cheese. But this person created a B-bot for HipChat. You could do something similar in your organization. Well, I don't use this too much. The one I do use, or a lot of people in the Sydney office use, is the caffeinator bot. Who here drinks coffee? Yes. By the way, the good coffee is downstairs, the man or the lady on the bike. It is really good, yes. So if you want good coffee, go downstairs in front of the... Anyway, so back to the talk. If you do want a coffee, team members always go out for coffee during lunch or before lunch, etc., or in the afternoon. One of the team members in the growth team created the HipChat Caffeinator bot. And this is open source. You can get it at this URL. It's pretty simple. You can just say, you configure the bot to say, hey, my favorite coffee is a latte, or a cappuccino, or whatever it is you drink. And you put that in the system. Then someone says, ping, I want to go out for coffee. Anyone interested? And you just say /in if you want to join. You say, yep, I'm in. And the bot knows and adds your coffee to that order. And it builds up a bit of an order. And then someone says, OK, we're ready to go out and get a coffee, and says /summary. And it says, for this coffee run, we're getting 2 cappuccinos, a flat white, et cetera, et cetera. We're getting 5 coffees. Tells you who's paying, and it tells you who's next in line, et cetera. So the Caffeinator bot, you can go check it out. It's available at that link there. But a nice way to just have some fun. I browsed a whole bunch of HipChat rooms in our Atlassian. There's quite a few teams that actually use this bot. I had no idea it existed till I asked a question on Confluence questions. So if you don't drink beer or you don't drink coffee, maybe whiskey is your thing. Whiskey is not my thing, but if it is your thing, I had no idea. We have a Whiskey Traders Club. And the Whiskey Traders Club have a very detailed Confluence page about the rules, the whiskey you need to bring, and they take a photo of it each week they meet. They take a photo of the whiskeys and whiskey connoisseurs. I don't know, I don't drink whiskey, but yeah, you get the idea. The thing they have that they've done is a Kanban board for all the whiskeys they have in their inventory. So you have to bring a whiskey bottle. And the columns there at the top, I don't know if you can see that, it's a new bottle all the way from like 90%, 80%, blah, 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 10% finished. So as you come in each week and you have your taste, you're asked to drag the card along. People comment on the cards. They leave their reviews. People love their whiskey reviews. I don't get it. But anyway, people, lots of adjectives to describe a whiskey, like fruity and blah, blah, blah. They love the whiskeys. So yeah, you may want to try something similar in your team. So that's it from me, 10 different tips to scale the culture in your team. We talked about some tips to help you say hello to new team members with welcome blog posts, or the remote battle stations, 90-day plans to help people get started. We talked about tips to getting work done, whether it be meetings or decisions, getting feedback from your company using Confluence questions, or just reporting on your many broken toilets in your company. How to say thanks, a very important aspect of teamwork that we often forget to do, whether it be kudos in JIRA Service Desk or the Karma bot in HipChat, check them out. And then how to have some fun. If you're running hackathons, check out the JIRA hackathon add-on, social groups with Confluence pages and HipChat rooms, maybe your celebrity lookalikes, and different ways to use emoji. And finally, we went through some examples of how you can use some of the HipChat bots or JIRA to track whatever drinks you like to have. So that's it for me. Thanks for listening. Appreciate your time.